She was crying on the phone. Pregnant with her ex's baby. Please. She begged. I made a mistake. Can we just be friends? I stayed silent, remembering how she called me a stalker after I saved her life. Then I finally responded with the one thing she never wanted to hear. So, let me take you guys back. I was 13. She was 12. Her name, let's call her Ariana, was one of those names that just sounded bright. You know. And she was, for the most part, she was wickedly funny, smart as a whip, and could probably outrun half the guys on the track team. When we first became friends, I seriously thought I'd hit the jackpot. It was that classic, cheesy, I found the one feeling, even at 13. But there was this shadow. I noticed it early on. She'd always wear long sleeves, even when it was hot out. One day, we were hanging out, and her sleeve rode up. I saw them thin, white lines mixed with angry red ones. I didn't freak out. I just asked, quietly, why? She looked down, and her voice was barely a whisper. She told me her life felt like a constant storm. Just total chaos. And this was the one thing she could control. A way to let the pressure out. I decided then and there I was going to be the guy who helped her. But a month or two in, I noticed something terrifying. It was getting worse. The cuts were more frequent. My brain started connecting the dots in a way I didn't want it to. We'd have an amazing day together. Laughing. Being idiots. And then she'd go home. The next day, there'd be a new mark. I started to realize. I wasn't just her friend. I was becoming her drug. The high of being with me was making the inevitable crash of being alone that much harder for her to handle. That led to the hardest conversation I'd ever had. I sat her down and told her, I think I'm making it worse. We can't talk for a while. 6 months. She cried. She begged. But my gut told me this was the only way. It was absolute torture. But I stuck to it. And holy crap. It worked. 6 months later, I heard from mutual friends. Her CS had turned into as. The girl who used to sit alone at lunch was now surrounded by people. And the cutting, it had stopped. I felt like I'd done the impossible. Nearly a year after that, we were on the verge of actually starting a relationship. We'd rebuilt our friendship on a much healthier foundation. Then I got the call. She was in the hospital. Her body temperature had dropped to 84 degrees. The doctor on the phone sounded baffled. She was severely hypothermic and had been for a week without anyone knowing how. That was the most scared I have ever been. 4 days. I just waited for the worst news. But she pulled through. She stabilized. She survived. We had survived. After she got out, we made it official. We were finally together. I thought we'd been through the fire and come out stronger. I thought the worst was behind us. So I guess my first question for you guys is this. When a relationship is built on a foundation of crisis and you playing the hero, is it even possible for it to become a normal, healthy partnership? Or were we doomed from the very start? So, we were finally a couple. For about a year. Things felt stable as they could be. Anyway. But that hypothermia incident was always this giant, unanswered question mark hanging over us. Then, the doctors finally found it. It wasn't random. It was a rare, upper gastrointestinal autoimmune disease. Basically, her own body was attacking her. The worst part, it had been misdiagnosed for years as simple lactose intolerance. It felt like a breakthrough. For the first time, we had a name for the monster. We had a target. The treatment plan was straightforward. A specific medication designed to manage her condition. I remember sitting with her in the doctor's office, holding her hand, feeling this huge wave of relief. We finally had a path forward. But that relief lasted for all of a few days. She started the medication. And things went south. Fast. It turned out she was violently allergic to the main ingredient. The one thing that was supposed to save her was now actively trying to kill her. The next 2 months were a blur of hospital visits, panicked phone calls, and that familiar, gut-wrenching fear that I was going to lose her. It was like we were right back where we started. Only this time the enemy was the cure itself. But, just like before, she made it. The doctors found an alternative treatment. A much more complicated and grueling one. But it worked. She was weak. Exhausted. But alive. I figured. Okay. Round 3 is over. Now we heal. For real this time. She went home to recover. And I tried to give her space. The first week of silence made sense. She needed to sleep. The second week, I started to get a little antsy. My texts were short. Just hey, thinking of you or hope you're feeling a bit stronger. They'd be delivered. But they'd just sit there. Unread. My calls went straight to voicemail. My internal monologue started to spin. What's going on? Is she back in the hospital? Did the doctors not tell me something? After a month of this, my worry outweighed my desire to not be annoying. I shot a quick text to one of her close friends. Hey. Sorry to bother you. Just haven't heard from Ari. Is she okay? The reply came back a few hours later. Yeah. She's fine. Just recovering. The response felt off. Evasive. But it confirmed one thing. She wasn't in a medical emergency. She was just ignoring me. For another month. I was trapped in this tense, anxious limbo. Nothing. Total radio silence. Then, one evening, my phone finally buzzed with her name on the screen. A flood of relief washed over me. Hello? I answered, expecting an apology, an explanation, anything. What I got was a voice I didn't recognize. It was cold, sharp, and laced with annoyance. You need to stop calling my friend, she said. There was no hi. No, how are you? Just that. My brain couldn't process it. What? I was just worried. I haven't heard from you in 2 months. Her reply hit me like a punch to the gut. It's stalkerish. Stop it. And she hung up. I just stared at my phone. Stalkerish. For being worried that the person I loved, who had almost died twice in my arms, might be in trouble. At that moment, I realized the problem wasn't her health. It was me. She wanted me gone. So, here's my question. How do you deal with that kind of emotional whiplash? Going from being someone's literal lifesaver to being labeled a stalker overnight. With no explanation. How is a person supposed to even begin to make sense of that? I was still staring at my phone. The word stalkerish echoing in my head. When it rang again the next day. It was her. I almost didn't answer. But I knew I had to. I needed this to be over. Hello? I said. My voice flat. There was no apology. She just got straight to it. I'm breaking up with you, she said. Her tone as casual as if she were telling me the time. I'm getting back together with my ex. And that was it. A click. She was gone. The phone slipped from my hand. I just sat there on the edge of my bed. And then this wave of something huge just crashed over me. I started crying. Not just tearing up. But that ugly, full body sobbing where you can't breathe. For about 30 minutes, I felt lower than I had in years. It was the culmination of 2 months of anxiety, of 4 years of fighting for her, all ending in a casual, brutal dismissal. Then, I did something I hadn't done in over a year. I'm a cold shower guy. Always have been. But I walked into the bathroom, cranked the handle all the way to hot, and stepped into the steam. As the water hit my back, the sobbing stopped. The knot in my stomach, the one that had been tightening for 8 weeks straight, started to loosen. And then, the strangest thing happened. I started to smile. A genuine, idiotically wide grin. It finally hit me. The anxiety was gone. The constant what if. The waiting. The checking my phone. It was all over. All I had ever wanted was an answer. And she finally gave me one. The answer sucked. But it was an answer. And it set me free. Of course. She couldn't just let it be. A few days later, she called. Can we still be friends? She asked. I just laughed. Let me think about it for the 2 months you ghosted me, I said and hung up. A week after that, she called again. Begging. Crying. Telling me she'd made a huge mistake and wanted to get back together. The old me, the hero, would have buckled. But this me just said, no. If you keep annoying me, I'm blocking you. The final nail in the coffin came less than a month later. A picture message from her. It was a positive pregnancy test. The text underneath it read, can we please just be friends? My brain just short-circuited. I didn't feel anger or sadness. All I felt was this profound, heavy disappointment. This was her last card to play a desperate, manipulative attempt to keep me tangled in her life. I didn't text back. Instead, I opened my voice recorder and spoke for 4.5 minutes. I didn't yell. I just told her, calmly, how disappointed I was. How I had watched her climb out of a hole and become this incredible person, only to see her willingly throw it all away and dig herself deeper. I told her that, at the end of the day, this chaotic life was what she wanted. And I couldn't be a part of it anymore. I sent the audio. And without waiting for a reply, I blocked her number. Then I went to my photo gallery, selected all 300-something pictures of us, and hit delete. So that's it. 4 years. 3 near-death experiences. I poured everything I had into helping her become the best version of herself. And she paid me back by throwing me away for her ex, then trying to manipulate her way back into my life. After all that, my main question is, how do you trust your own judgment again? How do you give so much of yourself to someone, only to find out you were just a tool to be used and discarded when you were no longer convenient?